Hi, everyone. Carmine Didisco here. We are on the Launch Network with one of my favorite shows, Get Retail Ready with Mr. Jim DeBetta. Now, this guy knows what he's talking about, and we're going to hear it right from his mouth. We got an awesome guest coming on, too. Hey, Jim, what's happening, man?
Like one of your favorite shows or the
Oh, yeah,
favorite show?
dude. I have to say that. I can't, people are listening to this. I can't say it's my favorite show. I say that when we're offline, that this is my favorite show, but we have other shows on the network. I can't.
Well, that's a little sad. I was hoping this would be the one, but all right. Well,
All
hey,
right,
well,
how can
look,
we do it? This is my favorite show, if anyone's listening.
there we go. Say that's like take two on that one. Good. All right, that's a better way to start things up. Yeah, everything's good since we've last podcasted. It's a new year. As we know, people are starting to wake up more. I've seen now that we're now in February, Groundhog Day, more winter. Like the Northeast is definitely getting what's it? Puxatawny Phil. I can never say that name right, but he saw his shadow, or I don't know. How does that work? It's you saw his shadow, you get more winter. Is that what it is? Or?
Yeah, I think the people that sell more products during the winter, they sponsor Puxatawny, and he's always saying, I've never heard him say winter's over.
Right, that's it. So if you're selling bathing suits right now, you're in
Yeah,
trouble.
you're in trouble. Yeah.
But
Hey,
yeah,
were you out there shoveling snow, Jim? I mean,
Yeah, we don't get snow in Atlanta. Once every few years, we'll get an inch. Everything shuts down. Everybody buys up all the milk and bread that within 100 miles of wherever they live, and nobody wants to go anywhere, and that's okay. They're better off not getting on the road. It is just the threat or the thought of snow. They will close things down one full day in advance because that, remember that Snowmageddon thing we had a few years ago where people were stuck on 75, like the highway, like literally overnight, the whole thing was jammed up. And since then they actually got smart and said, we're going to close things so we don't have those kinds of issues. And so it's just quiet for a couple of days. So
isn't it amazing how some news travels like so fast and it makes everybody get scared. They buy everything. And then we, or myself, have a great product that can help everyone. And I'm spending all this money trying to sell the product. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, and no one buys it. It's just insane to me.
Yeah, that's the way it works. And that's why today's show is going to be really relevant to that, because we're going to be talking about public relations and how you get the word out. There's a lot of inventors out there that have products, and they're really great products. They're smart, they're useful, they're fun, but nobody sees them. And a lot of that comes down to how you market yourself and how you brand yourself and how you get the word out. And today, word can spread quickly, but you got to be able to do it right. So I know we want to introduce Andrea Pass today. So Carmen, I'll let you do the formal intro, but she's definitely an expert in this field of public relations.
Yeah, I love it. I work with Andrea a lot, and she's been doing this, for over 30 years. What I love about Andrea is she's really down to earth. She knows what she's doing. She doesn't force people to do stuff. But, you take heed when somebody with her experience, her knowledge, her expertise recommends something. And that's what's so great about bringing her on the show today. We really want to hear how to start, how to get going. And then once you're going, how to build up on that. She has been on a lot of different shows, Fox and Elle, Steve Harvey. And I want to hear all about that stuff. Let's bring her on. She could do a little bit more. But Andrea, how's it going?
Hey, Carmine. Hey, Jim. How are you today?
Good.
We're doing good.
We're happy to have
good.
you on. Happy to have you back.
It's good to be back. It is good to talk to you guys again. And, and I'm the one in the middle of the snowstorm in New Jersey. We had over 18 inches. But, hey, we're all indoors. So what's the difference?
There is, right, exactly right. There is no difference. You're right. It's funny when we were emailing and I said, yeah, you were on the show probably not that long ago, but it really has been that long. I think a lot of 2020 is sort of a blur for a lot of people, or it's like post, 2020 Corona, although it's still raging on, but then there's pre-Corona. So I guess it's really been that long. And, I don't want to say public relations is public relations because the art form that it is still is what it is, but things have changed and the environment has changed. And it's even more important today to try to make a mark for yourself or stand out amongst the millions of things that are out there product wise. So we want to definitely get into what you do specifically, how you help people, why it's important to consider using a public relations expert like yourself to accelerate the process, or through your experience, get placement and get noticed. Because we all know that, as we just said, great products are great products, but if nobody sees them or hears about them or reads about them, they're just great ideas at that point. You're not making money with your business. And most inventors, although they want to help people and offer fun products, they want to make money at this. And there's nothing wrong with making money with your invention. So that's what we want to kick things off with, Andrea, by having you explain to people really what is public relations in an understandable way for most inventors to hear from you.
Yeah, and I think, we've talked about this before, that public relations is often the most misunderstood of the marketing categories, because everyone thinks, oh, you write a press release and suddenly there's this big story that appears on you in the New York Times, and it doesn't work that way. So public relations is about securing earned media, press coverage that you're not paying for. Advertising you pay for, advertising you control the content because you are picking that particular script or that particular print ad and those words. In public relations, you are sort of handing yourself over to the journalist, to the producer. They are making that content, but you are not paying for that. And that's why public relations and earned media is more trustworthy than advertising is. Because of course you're going to pat yourself on the back in advertising, but in public relations, you want the journalist or the media outlet to, so to speak, pat you on the back and highlight your invention, your product, your service, you. So it's a different approach, but keeping in mind, we are consuming an estimated 11 hours a day of content. It's mind-boggling that we are in front of our computers or our devices and we are absorbing. And how many times are we watching a TV show and we're scrolling on our phones? So we're double getting content. And why aren't you, your product, your invention, your service, why aren't you part of that content? And I think that that's where there's a confusion with public relations. And in public relations, when you have an interview or a feature or a product review, that becomes evergreen content that you can use again and again on your social media, because the average person looking at your social media is not looking that that story came out on this date. They're looking at the content of that story or that product review. So it's not a one and done in public relations. It's an over and over again opportunity for you to, and here's the key, stay relevant. And your product has to stay relevant. If your product isn't relevant and being talked about consistently, then who's remembering you? And that's the important element that I like to bring up for inventors and people looking to bring a product to retail, because of the fact that you've got to be in it to win it. It's hokey, I admit.
Yeah. Well, I know, but it's true, Andrew. You're right, because there's a lot of parallels between public relations and retail selling, and that parallel is that, like you or like me in our respective specialties, when somebody comes to me with an invention and I put that in front of a buyer, it could be at a Walmart, a Target, a Costco, wherever, those buyers get thousands of things put in front of them a year. What makes that product stand out, or what makes me skip the line? And it's the same thing for you, right? Anybody can go out and try to write a press release and just submit it everywhere and hope something sticks. But the differentiator, the big difference here, is relationships. I know tons of buyers. I've been doing this for 25 years. You've been doing this for 30 plus years. You know people in the press. You have contacts. You can get on the phone, email, text, whatever, somebody in the media, and say, I really got something for you that's special, that's different. You're not just sending anything, and they're not just going to print or reveal everything that gets sent to them. They need a story, or they need something interesting, right? For people to, if they're looking for 11 hours, what makes you just say, oh, look at that, or oh, that's interesting. It's the same thing with products, right? The buyers see so many things that are sort of similar, but if I send it to them, they say, oh, Jim, when Jim sends me things, it must be something different, or must be something genuine or something special. So I think that's a great point that you bring up. That
and I think that what you're saying, Jim, you hit the nail on the head. This isn't, the days of writing a press release and putting it out over a wire service are long gone. You might see a bump in your SEO for an hour, and that's it. Then you don't see the press release anywhere. It's a total waste of your money. And it's a one-by-one pitching by reaching the right media, one at a time. It's not clumping it together, throwing spaghetti at the wall, seeing what sticks. And, these people who, I remember in the old days, I'm dating myself, everyone wanted to be on Oprah, and now, and then before last summer, everyone wanted to be on Ellen. And that was the way it was. Well, you're not a celebrity and your product isn't out there yet. So you have to be realistic in where you're going to start to get the coverage. And a public relations professional such as myself knows where to go, knows who to reach to get those product reviews, so that you have this bevy of product reviews. So when someone like you, Jim, are taking that to the retailer, you can also say in your marketing that, oh, look, here, Google this, you're going to see all this press and all these reviews already out there about this product. And that's going to give you a leg up, because if the retailer thinks and knows that you're out there and you've gotten public relations coverage, well, you're a step ahead in making sure the sales happen. So, that's an important element in what you're doing. But I think, can I backtrack a little bit? Is that all right with you guys?
Yeah.
Let me backtrack. So when you're doing public relations, what does someone like me need? So if you have a product and you're ready to go to retail, what do you need to get started? You need to have an active website. You need to have active social media, and you need to have product samples that we give out and do not get back. That's a big issue. If you don't have a product that already exists, we can't publicize it because you can't send it to anyone for them to review it. They are not reviewing a prototype or a CAD drawing. That's not happening. It's got to be the finished product. It doesn't have to be in the finished packaging, but it has to be a finished product that you are sending, they are reviewing, and you are not getting back. Nor can we say to the reviewer, well, this isn't the final, because they're reviewing it honestly. Now, obviously, the people who are working with Andrea Pass Public Relations, for the most part, they know me well. So if they have a negative review, they're going to say to me, Andrea, I'm putting out a negative review. This didn't work. What do you want me to do? Well, they want to work with me again and get products from my other clients. So I'll say to them, kibosh it, don't run it. And so I'm making sure that you don't get negative reviews by the press, because I'm asking them not to run it. They're being honest with me for, I would say, a good 85 to 95% of the time. So you want to make sure you're ready to do public relations. But to say, oh, I don't want to spend the money, I don't want to spend the time, oh, I don't have a product yet, can't you get me press? Well, no, because you're not ready for that yet. Because what if someone reads that review and they suddenly want to order, $10,000 worth of that product, or 10,000 units? You can't deliver because you're not ready. So you have to be ready before you do public relations.
Andrea, I know you saw my post about, it was like a week ago, about you have to send samples and you have to send them for free. And I actually got a few messages and people pushing back, and there were some public comments, people saying, well, really, that's not really right. The buyers should, it should be fair and pay for them. I said, no, that maybe in theory that is true, but that's not going to happen. And if you have something that's $10, $20, $30, and you send it and you say, I need you to send it back, I need you to pay for it, I'm pretty certain you're not going to do business with that retailer. I am telling you, I won't even ask a buyer. But it's funny we say that.
It's the same with journalists.
Yeah.
Whether you're a blogger who's a homegrown journalist, or you're a well-known journalist working for the Today Show, you are not having your staff spend time paying for products and paying to ship products back. It's one thing if you're lending them a diamond ring that costs $20,000 and it's insured. Okay, a different story. But for the 10, 20, $34.99 product, they're not spending the time.
It's gone. It's an investment. I tell them it's an investment.
And the thing is today's bloggers, for the most part, they're not getting paid. So their payment is receiving the product. And if they test the product and give you a great review, and then they give the product to Aunt Sally because she would like the product, well, you know what? You made out ahead of the game because you got a great review. So it's part of what you need to do to get press coverage and to stay relevant. So, you got to be prepared. And I'd say put aside 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's realistic. A dozen doesn't do it, and you don't need 500. But put aside 100 products to ship out for press. And for the most part, you don't have to ship it out overnight. So your shipping costs will be less because you could do the 3-day or what have you, because they're not reviewing it the minute it arrives, because there are thousands and thousands of Andrea Passes out there pitching products that are going to end up on the desk of that particular writer. So it's not that they're going to review it that minute, unless they have a specific story that they're working on, whether it's Valentine's Day or Mother's Day or Father's Day, graduation, Christmas, Hanukkah. There are times of the year that they do have a deadline because they're writing for a specific gift guide, but for the most part, you don't have to overnight. So you won't have the shipping expenses.
Hey, real quick, Jim and Ann, I was speaking with an inventor that I was working with, and they were on the Today Show, and they had sent some equipment in and some product in, and then after the show, one of the producers reached out and said, "Hey, I'd like to give them to all the crew and the on-air talent. Send me 15 or 20," and of course you're going to do it. I mean, but like you said, Andrew, you have to look at that as like it's the way to get your product out there, because if you get Al Roker wearing your product on air, it was worth it.
Gold. It really is.
And certainly, pre COVID times, I was in studio, with products, with inventors going down the table. And at the end, you often see the support staff there in the studio say, "Oh, this looks so great." And they want it. You could tell they want it. And if you pack everything up and take it with you, you're leaving this kind of weird, it's, "Oh, here, oh, please take this." And you look good, and they remember that you gave them a gift. And it's all part of what has to be in your marketing budget. You have to be prepared for all of that. And I think that you have to be ready, and you have to know that the product works. And there are certain media outlets that must purchase the product themselves. Consumer Reports. Listen, if you get a positive review in Consumer Reports, you are golden. So someone like me tells Consumer Reports a little bit more about you, but they will not accept the product from you. They will have to order the product either from a retailer, from Amazon, from your website. They have to order it themselves. You won't know they're ordering it, and they're doing their test between your product and others in the same category. So be ready. Take the time, be ready before you go.
Well, two things, Andrew. One, I think the takeaway there is, and people need to know this, you need that media coverage more than that media person needs you any given day. So don't shoot yourself in the foot. Give them samples. Don't ask for the money back. Don't ask for the samples back. It's gone. You should be jumping at the opportunity to give away stuff. Again, like you said, if it's a $20,000 diamond ring, I think there's an expectation that they're going to send it back. I think that's an understood.
Yeah, and usually at that, you have an agreement with them for insurance purposes.
Right. But anything less, you should be more than happy to give away your stuff and get exposed that way. Now, Andrea, here's the big question I have of all questions, because I get this question a lot. People come to me and say, "Jim, I see you call on retailers. I know you have relationships, but I can handle this on my own." So what do you say to people? And really try to be objective, try to be right. Like, look, you're in this business, and obviously you're going to, it's like people say, "Well, Jim, of course you're going to say you can do it better because that's what you do." But I give them real reasons why. So what's the big thing or a few things that where you'd say, "Look, here's why you're better off working," whether it's me or just an experienced PR person, but really why what makes you better able to manage this effort than them?
Exactly. And I think that a professional who is a professional public relations person, number one, we have the expertise. We know how to pitch. We know the wording that we need to use. We know when we have to pitch. There are times that you don't pitch the media. You cannot be tone deaf. You need to know what's going on in the world. And even though that media person may not be covering breaking news, if there's breaking news, they might be pulled onto that department. So you can't be tone deaf. You need to have a public relations person that has relationships or knows how to create relationships. Do I know every single person in the media? No, there's hundreds of thousands of people in the media. But do I know how to find them? I joke I'm a PI and PR. I'm a private investigator looking for more media outlets and the right media outlets for my client. You don't have the time and the expertise to do that. So the same way we joke we wouldn't do our own dental work, or I wouldn't do any mechanics on my car. I'd break it apart. You take it to a professional. Also, by going to an outside public relations professional, you are now bigger. You are now more important because perception is reality. And if someone else is pitching your story and you aren't pitching your story, they know that you are busy with your product, with getting that product out to retail and making sure the product is perfect. So that is the other thing. Also, a public relations professional is preparing you for an interview. If you're going on a broadcast, whether it's a podcast, a radio show, a TV show, local, national, international, you need to be prepared. And a public relations professional such as myself is going to prepare you for that interview so that you do the interview well, that you aren't cut off, that you aren't reduced in time on that interview, and that we're working on your top 3 message points so that you stay focused on the interview. So use a professional public relations person to get you the coverage and get you the right coverage to help grow your brand, keep you relevant, and drive sales.
Interesting. All right. So like all of our businesses where we're engaged with people for a period of time, we all know that you're not going to get on the Today Show or this show or that show overnight, although I guess it can happen to some people if they have the right product, the right story, and everything's a perfect storm. But in that rare instance, so let's leave that aside, what's the reality? What's the timeline? I've had people say to me, how long does it take to start getting into a few retailers? And so it's the same for you. How long does it take to get written up or talked about or blogged about or on a show? What's the timeline for people realistically in your world?
Or what I get is, how much does it cost?
That too, that cost and effort, right?
Yeah, I think looking at the timeline first is there's no set timeline. And I tell the story many, many years ago. I had worked on a nonprofit and I had a reporter at the New York Daily News. This nonprofit really wanted the New York Daily News. I was pitching this guy constantly, and I can tell by talking to him on the phone that he probably was one of those guys that wore the hat that said press and typed with 2 fingers on an old-fashioned typewriter, one of those kind of guys. And he would say to me, Andrea, can you call me back in 3 weeks? Can you call me back in 4 weeks? Give me 3 months. Well, I did whatever he said. About half a year later, he said, I'm ready to do the story. He did the story. The story came out. That charity got tens of thousands of donations the day that story came out. So a good public relations person is going to wait and do it the right way. So it takes time. There's no guarantee that you're going to get on the Rachel Ray Show or the Wendy Williams Show or the Today Show or Good Morning America. There's no guarantees on that. But to be able to pitch it consistently the way that the producers want you to pitch them, that's going to take more time probably. Someone like me, because of relationships I have with a lot of bloggers, journalists, podcasters, et cetera, my clients are seeing interviews happen within the first 24 to 48 hours of working with me because I'm no muss, no fuss. I get in touch with people I know. I say, this is the person, and we do something. I have a client I just started working with a week ago. I know people who they do email interviews for their sites, for their blogs, for their what have you. And so we'll do some email interviews to get things started. And then others might be doing a podcast that they do a pre-interview first to determine, will you be a good guest? Then they book you as a guest, and that could be booked anywhere from the next week to 2 to 3 months later. And then it's taped, and it may not air for another 2 to 3 months after that. So I have a client today doing a podcast that we booked 3.5 months ago, but today is the taping date, and it'll air in another 3 or 4 months. But people are busy. So you've got to get on this immediately to be part of it, but you're going to see results pretty quickly if you're working with a reputable public relations person.
You know, Andrea, yeah, I'm not even going to let Carmine talk. I have so many questions. So do you work with people like me or Carmine, people that are not just product-based businesses, but service-based business, like experts or, you know, that kind of a thing? Do you do that kind of work?
I do, because experts, and especially entrepreneurs, I love entrepreneurs, and Carmine and Jim, you're both entrepreneurs, and the entrepreneurial spirit, and there's so many media outlets to have entrepreneurs included in or quoted in. You know, I'm starting to work with a person who is a health coach. And so we're already talking about tips on different times of the year and your health and your mental and physical health. And what you need to do. So he has a great service. I've worked with tax accountants where we'll talk about the things that you need to get prepared for when you're filing your taxes and extensions you might want to have, or what have you, marketing experts who are talking about the right way to market your business, people in technology. I represented a woman in technology. So we were doing that whole angle of the female in technology. And of course, that shouldn't be an aha moment, but for many media outlets, they wanted a woman in technology. You know, today, there are so many people doing stories looking for Black or people of color to interview for their stories. So I'm representing a woman originally from Barbados who has an amazing gourmet fruit and vegetable-based pancake mix. And so she's actually going to be featured in Martha Stewart Living.
Wow, nice.
It's out in a number of months because it's a long lead glossy magazine.
Sure.
But they were specifically highlighting food products created by Black or women of color. So that's, you know, there are all these different categories that didn't exist pre-COVID and pre-BLM and you know, that now there are specific categories focusing on that specific business. So whether your business is a product or your business is a service, or you're an author, or you have a nonprofit, I handle public relations for all of them. The only things I don't handle public relations for are Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, because I don't even understand what that is.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, it's like me when people come to me with products, that are just really almost off the wall, or they're so complicated that I'm like, if it can't be sold in a Target type store, whatever, then it's not for me. I want just everyday basics, and it can be something a little more sophisticated, but it has to be something that the average person is capable of understanding and buying. So I get you on that one.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew. So I want to make sure we get this in, because the time goes so quickly, because this is the question that everyone's going to ask is, like, and Carmine said before, what does it cost to have a real professional public relations effort put in?
Exactly. And that's the $1 million question. I think that anyone who has a product that wants to get their product to retail has to dedicate a few $1,000s a month to public relations for a minimum of 6 months, because it takes time. It's not a 1 month one and done. So it's not the kind of thing that a PR person can do a campaign for $500 a month. There's not enough hours in the day, because the back and forth that it takes the PR person to secure every single interview or product review or segment takes hours and hours and hours. So keep in mind that you need to plan to have money in your budget to do public relations. And when you speak to a public relations professional, if that professional is guaranteeing you placements, then they're doing pay for play, and they're taking your money and then paying for a segment. You don't want that. No one can guarantee public relations. You can guarantee advertising. You can't guarantee public relations. But if you look at the history of the public relations professional, and if you go to AndreaPassPR.com, you'll see some of that, and follow my LinkedIn and my Facebook, you'll see that there are placements happening every single day for my clients. You want to work with someone who knows the media, knows how to get out there, but you really need to put together a chunk of change sitting there waiting to pick the right public relations person for you, because you will see the results. So it's not the kind of thing, if you have a PR person who's coming to you and saying, I'll do this for $700 a month, or I could do this for $300 a month. Well, you're not getting the time, or they're handing it over to an intern they knew, or something like that. So you're getting an inexperienced person who wants your money and won't give you any results. So you really need to put down $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, $5,000 a month, especially depending on the number of hours you want put into that campaign and the outreach. That will also include media training and messaging and making sure that your website or your social media pages appear. Because if someone can't find you, I had someone who I had done an interview and I regret it, and because they did not put my client's website. And we had discussed it beforehand, and I have proof in the emails that they were going to include the website and social media pages. They didn't, and they backtracked. I showed them the emails that we had, and they said, no, we don't tag anybody. Well, okay, so what was the point in that?
Right.
Want to make sure that, newspapers don't tag anyone. It's a newspaper. But if you're an online outlet, you certainly want to be tagged, and you want to make sure that there's a link to the client's website or Amazon or whatever, Walmart, Target, to purchase the product. Mm-hmm. So a good PR person, you are getting what you pay for.
I think that goes without saying. With everything and anything, you usually wind up having to pay something to get something of quality or of substance. And there are people that appreciate that. There are people that I work with every day, clients that understand that. And I know we try to play on words, but it really is an investment. You're investing in your business. You want to grow it. You want it to be sustainable. We all know how the media is. You could be a flash in the pan, 15 seconds of fame, all the little terms that people use, but it's true. And I have people that come to me with products that say, well, I was in this, or I was on that. But then you look and it was 5 years ago or 5 months ago. And I said, that is great. And it looks good. But how are you doing today with that? What is that doing for you now? And it's like advertising. You have to always be keeping your name out there. And it's what we all do. We're always online. We're posting on social media. We're getting products placed. We're getting media placements. And people see us. So we're running a similar business, right? They're running a product business or a service business. And we're running a service business. And so we stay relevant because we invest in our own businesses. We make sure that we work with the best people. We keep ourselves top of mind with potential clients, just the way somebody who comes to you wants to keep their product or service or idea top of mind with the media, which of course extends out to consumers. Because if you get a big placement or you get on a TV show or a radio show or just on a big internet, a big website, millions of people potentially can see that. Now, does that mean you're going to sell 1 million pieces of product? No, but collectively, when you get a story here and a little plug there and a little write up there, it starts to build the base and grow your brand and create awareness. And then people share things, right? So when I see something cool, I'm like, oh, check that out. And you can text it somebody or share a link. It's today using PR can accelerate, if it's done right, so quickly. Because if you catch the right outlets and people see it, they can spread it. And before you know it, you can become really a sensation.
I think one example is I have a client of mine from Austin, Texas, and she created a product called the Go Hang It. And I know that you had met her and you had interviewed Sherry Hammond quite a number of months ago. And so I was getting all of this press for the Go Hang It, which helps you hang your picture straight on the wall. How many times have we tried to hang a picture and we have all those holes in the wall because we couldn't? This eliminates all of that. And so I was able to get all this press for the product. And then we were at the hardware show back in the day, a year or so ago when we actually did something in person. And we were able to get Sherry to pitch at the United Inventors Association area. She pitched this panel from Home Depot. Afterwards, she had many calls and meetings, and she was able to send them links for all of the press. Everyone's talking about my product. Well, now her product is in homedepot.com because of the fact that they really were impressed that she was, of course, a great product, but she was already out there and people were talking about her product. And, that's an important element. You're going to do better when you get that pitch and you have that opportunity when you're taking something to a Target or a Walmart to be able to say, this product is already out there in the media.
They do. They want a marketing plan. They want to know that you are investing in your brand. There's no question that they want people coming in or going on their website looking for something because they know that then it'll sell. It's common sense. I always tell people that. I'm like, if you have a good marketing plan and a budget for advertising and PR, it makes my job easier because that's what the retailers want. Retailers don't really want to pioneer anything. They may want to be the first to be successful with something, but they'd rather somebody else sell it first and then they come behind and really get behind it. And how do you do that? By having a brand. And people, nothing's changed in the world. People are comfortable with brands. They like to buy things that they see, that they become familiar with. And when they think of, they say, oh, they may not even remember the exact name, but they'll remember a likeness or get it kind of half right. But they'll say, that's that thing I saw on that website or on TV or whatever. And that's why the whole tie-in of public relations, as it pertains to even a whole marketing plan, you can't leave it out. You can't just run ads and hope for the best. You can spend a lot of money, but getting what we'll call this very important free, there's a price to pay to get to that point. But once something gets out there and it gets sent out and millions and millions of people potentially see it, there's no cost to that.
No, and certainly another thing is, when you're working with a public relations professional, we're seeking out other unique things. I have a client who's going to be a product giveaway on the TV show, Let's Make a Deal. Okay, I connected with the prize coordinator there. And whereas this isn't a financial commitment from the client in dollars, we had to put a prize package together worth a certain amount and ship all that information to the prize coordinator. And we actually have the taping this week, but I've been working 3 months on this.
Wow, yeah. And no guarantee that it'll happen, right?
No, and it's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until we eventually got a contract and a signed contract that, yes, we're going to be featured on the show. But the amount of hours I put into that one opportunity to be on Let's Make a Deal.
But you knew how to do the deal and you had the relationships. And so
I love it.
That's the difference.
That's
Carmen,
so
I know.
cool.
I was going to say, we rarely run over. I know.
Oh, sorry.
We could talk for days. This is good because this is the kind of information that people really need. It's important for people to know. We say this all the time. I say this all the time. A lot of times we have guests on, people like yourself or just us here talking, and it sounds very promotional or self-serving. But look, we offer a service that people really need. A lot of people believe and can try to go out and do things on their own. And I always say, I applaud people for trying to learn the process and trying to get educated. It makes it easier to work with them. If somebody knows a little bit about PR, they have an appreciation for the amount of time, the effort, the experience, the know-how, finagling deals, working angles, knowing when to pitch, how much to pitch, what not to say. There's so many things that go into it. It's not just, oh, I'm just going to go and go online and be on Facebook and hope everyone sees me. You're going to be waiting a long time, 99 out of 100 times, if that. So it's important for people to understand that all of these things are all important elements of growing your product business. It's not just doing one thing well, it's coming up with a great idea, having a great product, having it manufactured by and designed by people like Carmine's company, and then having it branded, and then having a website made, like you said, and having great packaging, and then having a marketing plan that includes great public relations. And then it comes to me and I get to show that to all these different retailers. And then there's a whole foundation built around that product. And those are the steps. Those are the things you need to do to have the best chance. There is no guarantee of success. We all know that. We tell people that. But you're going to be in a lot better position to achieve success if you have your foundation in a good spot.
Right. And if you're taking your business seriously, this is a business. As much as it comes from your heart and you've created a product with your blood, sweat, and tears, and you're invested in your product, it is a business and you have to look at it as a business. And one of my favorite quotes is, failure is not an option. And when you take that approach, you're going to get there. But remember that you need other people on your team, such as me, such as Carmine, such as Jim, to get all those steps to happen, because it doesn't happen solo. It just doesn't. You might be a solopreneur, but it takes a village.
It does. Andrea, this has been really, really great. It's really helpful for people to hear it from an expert like yourself. Carmine, I know he's going to wrap up. He's going to let everybody know where to find you. Although you're not hard to find, you're out there. I see you whenever I'm on doing my posts and stuff. I see you all the time, which is good because that's what people need to do. They need to see people that know what they're doing out there, and it's good for the business and it's good for inventing, that there are trustworthy people like yourself out there really truly helping. Yes, you charge for what you do, but you really do it thoroughly. I've known you for years. You know what to do, and you're really dialed in and relevant to what's going on out there. And that's a huge difference maker today.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Carmine. It's always great to be with you guys.
Oh no, it's such a great show. What I don't think people realize, this is kind of therapy for me because we get to talk about the things that I try to implement with my clients, and a lot of times they disagree with me because they feel like I'm holding them up or I'm holding them back. And I'm like, these have to be done in sequence. We need to slow up. And I'm very impatient, but I find myself, just trying to talk to my clients because they all have a prototype, and they right from the prototype, they want to go on Shark Tank, or they're calling the Today Show. And I'm trying to say, no, you're way out of sequence. You're not ready. And it's so good to hear that you guys kind of agree in that process. There has to be a sequence. It has to be done correctly. And yes, for some reason, a lot of inventors out there believe that everything should be done for free. And I don't know where that comes from, but to get good results, to get good people, good consultants, good work, it comes at a cost. There's nothing wrong with that. So I'm just so cool to hear both of you guys, and you're both part of the UIA. I want all of our listeners to know that the UIA is a great organization full of good people that want to help. And please go on out and join the UIA, become a member as soon as possible. Andrea has been a board member. Jim's an ambassador. We're doing some great work out there. So I thank you guys for giving me a little bit of therapy this morning, because I see that I am trying to lead my clients down the right road.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to do. It's a big, long journey, as they say. So you got to be in it. You got to be in it and want to do it and be invested in the whole entire process, financially, emotionally. It's a business, like Andrea said, and you have to take it seriously. If you want to make money at this, you have to really go all in and do it right.
Yeah. And try to take a little of the emotion out of it. It's hard to, and I know Jim always posts about this, but it's a business, and you can make your business successful by making sure that you have the right marketing, the right public relations, the right retail connections, the right production and manufacturing. And if your product is worthy, you're going to be out there and you're going to be a success, and we're going to be proud to be part of that team.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy, for coming on today. I know we'll be seeing you again. Anybody that's out there listening, if they want to get in touch with Andrea, ask her a question, maybe utilize her services, AndreaPassPR.com. Check it out. Awesome stuff on there, and you won't be sorry if you do. For Mr. Jim DeBetta, for Andrea Pass, for myself, Carmine Danisco, I thank you for listening in today. Go on out to iTunes, Google Play, wherever you consume your podcast material, even YouTube now. We have a Launch Network YouTube page where we'll have these videos. Thank you very much. Leave us a review, a rating. We'd love to hear from you. I thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time on Get Retail Ready with Mr. Jim DeBetta. You all take care.